So now we go to the mixer. It's a Mackie 1640i from the Onyx series, and it's got 16 channels which all go into the computer, and they can come out as well in each separate channel. It's a multi-track mixer. It's got panning, solo, muting, sub-assigned sends, which I won't go into as well, because I don't even know that much about them myself. And there's a talkback button, so you talk into it and people can hear you through the other headphones. Main mix, and to hear each track through the main mix, you have to click the main mix button, otherwise the track won't get sent there. It's got a 4-band EQ with sweepable low, mids and high mid filters, and you can turn the EQ on and off with the switch of a button. It's also got 48 volts phantom power, so when you use condenser mics like the overheads I use or the KSM32, you switch it on, it gives it the extra boost of power. There's a 75 Hz bass cut. I don't use any of these for when I'm recording. I haven't used this mixer in a live application yet, but I'm sure you'll do the job really well. There's also a Firewire send, so if you want to use plugins on the computer and send them back to the mixer for a live application, you can just press that with a switch of a button. There's also pre and post Firewire EQ sends. So if you want to record flat, you just have it out, and if you want the EQ on to record, you just push it in. The only really thing I use to record is just gain. I don't really use any EQ because it's easier to add EQ than to remove. So yeah, that's just about it. Here's the back of the mixer, as you can see. Here's the Firewire output that runs down here into the computer. So now we discuss recording. Okay, so when you buy the Mackie Onyx 1640i, it usually comes with a driver disc. So you want to take that disc, put it into the disk drive, and then if it doesn't start, just start the audio run wizard and just follow what it says and it will install it for you. Or you can download it off the Mackie website, either way. I upgraded my drivers from the Mackie website because it's best to have the latest driver. And then, so Traction will be installed, hopefully, if you've got it installed. So you open it. Alright, so it's all open. You want to start a new project, so over here, you start a new project, name, just whatever. And then on template, you can use a blank or anything. I usually use 16 track empty, so that's all good. And then this location here, this location is where the project folder gets saved to, as well as every take. Every take you record gets saved to this folder, so you can do 1,000 takes and there'd be 1,000 takes in the folder. So even if you delete them in the program, so say, yeah, I did recording, so that's a recording in the desktop, so that's just a folder. So click on that one, yeah, that's all good. Press OK. And then here you want to open the project. So you have the project here, so here's the 16 tracks. This is volume, panning, mute, solo. I don't really know that much about this program, I just use it to record. But I'll show you how to set up the mixer. So you go to settings, and the mixer should be there. If it's not, just unplug the mixer, or turn it off, restart it, or you can press restart here. But I have this weird problem, when you press restart, all the recordings are like super chipmunk speed, like everything's fast forwarded. But the only way I figured out how to get around it is if you just change the latency, you go 5.8 milliseconds and you go back to 11.6. And sometimes it doesn't work, so just make sure you press it again. And then that's all good. But I'll show you how to start it. So here, if it doesn't come up, you can choose Mackie ASIO driver. And so that's there. And all these top ones are the outputs, stereo outputs. So you want to have 15 and 16, so that will be your monitoring. So say if there's a drum track in here and you're recording guitar, it will come out of tracks 16 and 15. So you can turn them up on the mixer. And you want to press the Firewire buttons at the top next to 48 volts, because then otherwise you won't be able to hear anything. So if you press those, the send comes through, the output here comes through on 15 and 16 left and right. So all these tracks here underneath this line, these are all the inputs. So you got 1 to 16. I'm only using 1 to 12 because that's how much mics I've got. but I won't be using 12 because I was using that for audio, which is why you can't hear me now, because I'm not recording the audio. Or you can hear me, but it's very bad quality because it's coming out of the camera mic, not the KSM 32. So once that's all good, you tick all these, enable all these to record. Sample rate, whatever you want, but I just record normal because this computer you can't handle any higher, which is 44 Hertz normal. And then the latency. See, my computer can only do about 11.6. Latency is the amount of time it takes to go into the computer and for the computer to process it and then have it like displayed there. So you've got like a kick drum going in, and if you choose 0.7 milliseconds, you'll barely be able to hear any delay. But if you see, it depends. You need to have a super powerful computer, or maybe not that powerful. Maybe this computer is just terrible, which it is, but it still does the job alright. And so I've got mine about 11.6, so you can hear a slight delay. If you're recording drums and you've got the kick drum up, you'll be able to hear the kick drum, but then with the track output, see this one here, 15 and 6, the channel in the mixer, you'll be able to hear like a slight delay on the track, and I'll show you how to get rid of that after. But yeah, so you choose that, make sure that's all good, and then you go back to the project here, and then you want to right click track 1, the little empty gap, little square. You're going to right click that, go down the little drop box, and you go assign all inputs to consecutive tracks, and it assigns all the tracks. And then you want to right click again, and then you want to go enable all devices for recording, which means they're all armed for recording now, so you can just record whenever you want. But there was another thing I was going to show you. When you set a latency delay, it also delays the actual recording. So if you record a drum track with 11.6 milliseconds, the whole drum track will be moved forward 11.6 milliseconds, which means if you record a guitar over that, the guitar will be moved forward 11.6 from the drums, which means it will be out of time with the drums, be out of sync. So to fix that, you want to click one of these tracks and make sure you've got use the same properties for all devices. You click this, so make sure that's ticked. And at time adjust, you want to set the time adjust exactly the same as the latency delay. So see 11.6 milliseconds, and the time adjust should be 11.6 milliseconds. And by doing that, it cancels out the delay, so everything's recorded on the same time. I've had a few problems with it, but I either just refresh the RAM on the computer, or restart device, or reinstall the program if it gets too bad. And there's a few glitches sometimes, but depending on the computer, you probably won't experience it. But there's just little ways like this to get around it, like by restarting or like changing the latency back, like I was talking about before. But yeah, once you've got the latency delay, 11.6 milliseconds or whatever you want to choose it, and the time adjust is the same as that one you've chosen, and that should be all good. And then once you've recorded, you might notice that the input gains the levels are too quiet, so you can boost them here. The 0 decibel thing, you can change it to 2 or 3 or whatever you want. And that should be about it for that. So yeah, once you're ready to record, you can press record and go. On the mixer, you'll hear all your tracks fine, but on 15 and 16, if you're listening to a click track or something, and all these are turned on, you'll be able to hear like a delay. Like you hear the snare, then you hear an extra snare, like 11.6 milliseconds after, or however many seconds you set the delay. So to avoid that, you can just turn all these tracks down. Here is a pan, left and right. If you hold that left, it's pan, and then that pan's right. You just want to turn all of them down. And on most of my covers as well, I usually record, or now I do, if I'm recording, like sometimes I use my iPod, but if I'm recording and I'm going to be using the original backing music, I'll record on this and I'll record to it and export the actual original recording from here as well, because sometimes it can glitch slightly and like you won't be able to hear it, but your track will move a millisecond ahead of the original. So if the original is glitched with your track, the whole thing will everything will be in sync. Otherwise it'll be out of place when you go to mix it in the other program. Like I use Cubase, and so if I import, like say this is Cubase, and I import all my tracks here, and then I go import, let's see, like a Van Halen song, and I put it in there, this song will be fine, but here it would have glitched somewhere along here and moved all the drums like a millisecond forward, which it'll put like the timing out from the original. So if you import the song into here first, and then export the song. But you have to remember to click stereo when you export it for this file. And then you export those all together, they'll all be synced with each other. And yeah, so I think you're ready to record. So you just make sure it's at the start, make sure everything's all good. And if the latency, or if it's all sped up or weird, just make sure you reset the latency or restart device and reset that. It's just all little ticks, like, because it has some funny problems sometimes. But yeah, if you use those, it should be all good. And then you're ready to record. So you turn up 15 and 16, so that's where your mix is coming from. So if you're playing to a click track on track 13, you can make sure that's turned up. And you've got EQs here, so if you want to turn them on, it's all good. I don't have to use much gain because the output levels from the computer is pretty loud as it is. And just make sure the firewire returns are clicked. So then you got the signal coming back through. You got headphone control, the main mix. Then you should be ready to go. So chuck on the headphones. And then you're ready to record. So you go to the screen. So you just press 0 and then record. And it should be all recording. And if you screw up as well, just press stop. So it's stopped now. And then Control Z until it's all gone, or you can press undo. Right, they're all gone, so press 0 again. Record. Alright, now it's rolling, as many recording people say. And I'll just play something for you, and hopefully you like it. So once I've recorded all the tracks, like here they all are, all the kick, snare, everything. If I want to overdub or anything like that, I'll just go to here, choose the channel which it's on, click it, activate recording. But you want to turn all these off, otherwise all the drum mics will record. And turn that back on. And then you record, the latency will be all fine. You let that go. And then when you're done, finished, say the song's all ready to be mixed. Because I don't mix in this program, it's not really that great for mixing. I just record it. It's the only program I've got that works with 16 tracks in and out, multi-tracking. There they all are. And then you want to turn all the tracks back up, back to 0, so I'll do that. Okay, all the tracks are turned back up, and I'll just delete that little faked guitar thing I did. Delete these tracks as well, because there's nothing on them. And when you've got all these all done, so they're all back at 0, all the panning's 0, and that's all good. So then you go export, create an audio file, and make sure it's not in stereo unless you've got stereo tracks, because all the mics are in mono, so that's good. And you want to click render each track to a separate file, so you can get each, like the kick track saved as kick track, snare saved as snare, and so on. So you click here, choose your folder where you want to save it, so I'll go desktop, make a new folder, drum test, click it in there, save, check again, everything's all good, and render. Then I'll take these tracks and mix them in Cubase in my room, where all the mixing is done, and yeah, then you'll see what happens after this. So these are just the raw tracks that have been saved. And when you're done, if you want, you can save, edit, exit, and then The tracks will be there, take them to your computer, or mix it on the same thing, use those tracks, and then the mixing begins. I'll see you soon.